Hi everyone, welcome back to this week of RHO Market Chat. As usual, we recap on last week's market chat, and today I want to highlight on a couple of possible market moving events, and one of them will be the Jackson Hole virtual conference that will be held this coming Thursday, and that could move the market. And talk a little bit about one of the biggest IPO that is going to be listed, and that is the Ant Financial IPO, a subsidiary of Alibaba. All right, and want to talk about some trading opportunity of the Sembcorp industry and Sembcorp Marine demerger, and also I want to highlight some of the economic data in the week ahead. All right, so last week I talked about the U.S. election and the stock market, and particularly we talk about the China bashing strategy that Donald Trump has adopted, to improve his bid for the president in the presidential campaign. So he has banned TikTok and app, banned Huawei and WeChat, right? And he has indicated that it will not stop there. There will be more possibility of more U.S. tech stocks that will be punished, all right? So that is why, I said that for now, perhaps we have to be careful about investing in the Chinese tech stocks, because they have become the obvious targets of Donald Trump in his campaign to the November election. All right, so but then just looking at the economic data is always not gloomy for China. We have most of the economic data coming out of China that is looking good, improving, and especially when foreigners, in spite of all the Chinese and U.S. tension, they are in there to buy the Chinese bonds. I talk about gold. Gold, although we had almost 9% correction 2 weeks ago, gold is still on the uptrend, and it is possibly just taking a breather before taking new highs. And yes, last week we've seen gold's price action. Indeed, it was taking a breather, all right, trading between 1920 and 1952, all right. And as long as gold doesn't break this, this uptrend line, which is somewhere of 1890, we should be fine. It should be, indicating that this correction is perhaps more time to buy than to sell, all right? So for today, I want to first talk about Jackson Hole. So what is Jackson Hole? And for those of you who don't know what Jackson Hole is all about, it is one of the longest standing central banking conference in the world. The event brings together economists, financial participants, academicians, US government representatives, particularly central bankers and news media, to discuss the long-term issues concerning the financial markets. All right. So topics include inflation, labor markets, international trades, and those are the topics that will be discussed. And it has never been held virtually. So this time around, all right, it will not be held at Jackson Hole. It will be held, all right, in a virtual conference. The highlight of Jackson Hole, all right, will be, of course, we know who the U.S. Fed chief, all right, Chairman Jerome Powell. So what do we expect, all right, from this Jackson Hole, and how would it affect our trading and investments strategy, all right? So the Fed Chairman Powell is set to speak, all right, on the central bank's monetary policy framework review on this Saturday, covering the Fed's dual mandate to maximum employment and to provide price stability amid the economic impact of the pandemic. All right. So this is what Sam Ballard, all right, the senior economist of Wells Fargo's corporate and investment banking, said in his note to his team that he suspects the discussion are likely to center on the challenges of the interest rate at zero level bound and persistently low inflation. All right, so they expect the expert expects that the Fed to shift its average inflation target framework with the announcement to come as early as September 15 and 16 FOMC. So he's probably going to just give a prelude of what is going to come, all right, in the 15, 16 FOMC. And he realized this revised framework will open the door for FOMC to tolerate a moderate overshoot of its 2% target to compensate for the period of below target inflation. So, what it essentially really means is that all right, they could guide an average inflation target higher, and that all right could open the door for the Fed, all right, to lower or to prolong its loose monetary policy for a longer period. Okay, which means really it is to support policies of fiscal stimulus, all right, and loose monetary stimulus, all right. So with that, if the Fed is going to guide for a higher interest rate targets, that could be good really for the equity market. Equity may get another boost, and surely the gold prices could stage a rebound. All right. And also in the next 1 to 2 weeks, right, perhaps even next week, right, we could probably expect Ant Financial to file for a blockbuster Hong Kong IPO, and it is widely touted as the biggest IPO in history. Okay, so Ant Group, right, announced plans last month for dual listing in Hong Kong and Shanghai with a valuation of roughly 200 million, all right, and that's really, really huge, all right. And the parents payment provider Alipay is the world's most valuable tech startup, all right. So Ant Group has not disclosed the size or the timetable of offering, but sources with the knowledge of listing told Kai Sing that it is looking to raise 30 billion, all right, in concurrent IPO in Hong Kong and Shanghai, and that might take it to become the world's largest IPO, even surpassing Saudi Arabia giant Saudi Aramco, which was listed with a market value of 29.4 billion. That was about half a year ago. All right, so the Chinese securities regulator reported receiving Ant's Group Hong Kong initial IPO offering documents for a pro forma review, meaning that Ant could file its IPO application with Hong Kong Stock Exchange as soon as next week. All right, so Ant hasn't submitted its A-share IPO document to Shanghai Stock Exchange, and continue to report the listing could be as soon as September and not later than October. So the market is widely anticipating the release of the details of when Ant is going to be listed. All right, and for investors who are thinking of getting a hold of Ant's IPO, it's going to be tough, because there's going to be overwhelming subscription expected. But the Alibaba, right, being a 30% shareholder of Ant, is right the major beneficiary of this IPO listing, and therefore, I am asking investors to stay invested in Alibaba, all right, as we await for the Ant Group's IPO listing. So this is the chart of Alibaba, after the announcement of Ant Financial listing. What we saw was that Alibaba gapped up 2 days in a row, breaking even its all-time high. All right, so today it came very close to 275. All right, and then it pulled back because we had weak Hong Kong markets. But by and large, the Alibaba uptrend should continue. All right, it could pull back, all right, to 263 or even 252, which is the next support. All right, but if investors, I encourage investors to stay invested. All right, because Alibaba is the main beneficiary of an IPO, and I see further upside. And if everything works out well, we could even see a target of 280 and 290 in the longer term. All right. So the other issue I want to be talking about, right, is really Sembcorp Industry and Sembcorp Marine demerger, right, exercise that was announced by the two companies. And I think, right, that we have a trading opportunity here. Okay. So, the Sam Marine and Sembcorp Industry share prices have been very depressed because investors, are not taking it well with the rights issue. And of course, a lot of investors do not want to cough out more money in Sam Marine because a lot of them are already sitting on big losses on Sam Marine because of its prolonged downturn. And but what I saw really is what I think really is that Sam Marine share prices could have bottomed because those people who wanted to sell the rights have already sold, and the last day of trading of the rights will be 27 August, which is this coming Thursday. So those sellers of Sam Marine rights have overhanging the price of Sembcorp Industry, all right, would have already sold, and that sort of could take the overhang or the resistance of Sam Marine and Sembcorp Industry in the short run. So I'm sure, if you have tuned into my market chat the last couple of weeks, I was talking about it. And, if you are a shareholder of Sembcorp Industry, you will be entitled to between about an average of 4.5 lots of Sam Marine. So, and 3 key dates to take note: the last day of trading Sembcorp Marine rights is 27 August, and the Sam Marine trading of its right shares will be 11 September, and that's where I think there'll be a lot of Sam Marine shares that will flood the market, and that's where we see some weakness. So between now to 11 September will be a good time to be trading Sam Marine share, and I expect between now to 10 September we could see a rebound. And that's what we are going into to trade, all right? So Sembcorp Industry share last day of distribution of Sam Marine shares, all right, will be the last day of the entitlement will be 8 September, okay? All right, so this is the Sembcorp Industry chart, all right? I expected, all right, to hit the first target, all right, of 191. In fact, last week I was already telling my students and those people who followed me, right, to be starting to accumulate Sembcorp Industry, right? We have a target of first 191, 198, and if it breaks 198, we may even see 219. All right, and so this Sembcorp Industry shares, Sam Marine shares picking up. All right, today it started picking up. But if it can break, all right, the 225 target, it could go to 25 cents. And, if everything works out, it could even go to 29 cents, but I don't think it's going to 29 cents. So if Sembcorp Marine share were to go to 25 cents, it will give a lift, all right, to the Sembcorp Industry shares, all right? So this is the economic data coming out this week, Thursday job data, and the Jackson Hole conference will be the highlight for this week. All right. So for Chinese PMI, 31st August, all right, manufacturing PMI. So that is also important data to take note of. Okay, so this is what I have for this week. I hope you enjoyed the program. I hope to see you again next week. Bye.